My friend, I want to talk about your evolution. When was the last time you evolved? Do you evolve? I know it's a heavy question, first thing in the morning, right? Do you evolve? Do you? I don't know. Evolution is a wonderful concept. I just did 2 incredibly poignant videos on my private channel. And I'm sorry. I just got a funny, Mrs. L just sent me a text. I'm not going to read it. It's very funny. Anyway, I just did 2 extremely poignant videos on this notion called, one is political, but the other one has to do with the notion of evolution. And for those people who need a real good version of this, look at music. And I just did a kind of a tribute. I just did on my private channel, so to speak. I have these things that I look to, these wonderful, I guess these, let me rephrase this. There's 3 parts to it. There's a video. So when you subscribe, you get over an hour a day of me. It's not on YouTube, just explicit me talking to you, unedited, unexpurgated, unbowdlerized me. Speaking like an adult, not in any way profane, but I think stylistically profane when the time comes, because I think sometimes there are some words that better describe certain things that tend to be a tad saltier, if you will. So anyway, so we have that. A particular news story, usually from a site or a website or a source that you just will not hear or be allowed to hear on conventional programs. And the third, by the way, merch available. And the third is a musical part. I do a musical, and I want to bring you up to speed on something. Something that I think is important. And it could be anything. It could be something I'm listening to. Something that's, I might be in a jazz kick. I may be in something that's more fundamental. I was into a prog rock thing for a while. Starcastle. Yes, the old days. King Crimson and Peter Sinfield and Greg Lake in the old days. Nick Drake. And today I just did one on Wes Montgomery. Wes Montgomery was one of the most, if not the most, prolific and critical jazz guitarists whose style is absolutely recognizable today. And it shows the evolution of jazz. And it shows this one particular part that you have to recognize. It's where jazz is going. So if you were to play a gig, as it were, if you were to, let's say you were to go and you're going to, if I said, I want you to play something a la Wes Montgomery, you have to know what that is. It's not current now, but it's a style, it's a staple. If you ever listen to the theme song from Shaft, Cafe Reggio's, that's Wes Montgomery's style. It's unmistakable, okay? Unmistakable. Now, that's evolution. We have new forms of stuff today, but that's always going to be there. That's not current, but at least you have to know the rudiments of it. You have to know the history of this. Same thing goes for politics. Same thing goes for political issues. Same thing goes for societal issues. Same thing goes for religion. You have to know how things evolve. Evolve means change, but do they fundamentally change? I have friends of mine who are living in a 1980s Republican world. They live in a world where Ronald Reagan and Rush Limbaugh and Barry Goldwater, that's where they live today. And they think that is still extant. I've got other friends of mine who are living in a 1970, 71, 68, 70 Democratic Party. or a liberal party, and they're there. And I said, it's changed since then. And they don't necessarily see it. Because that's all they know. It stopped right there, their evolution. It's like when somebody says, I quit school. I quit school. I'm a dropout at the 8th grade. Pretty much things stopped there, And then later on, life's variations of, study came along. But you kind of stopped right there. And I'm seeing people all around me whose worldview, everything, stopped. It's not current. It's from some other part. It's like watching Me TV, or it used to be Antenna TV, or the oldies, the classics, to watch Nickelodeon or Nick at Night. And they were oldies. I was listening to an interview last night. I happened to come across of Wolfman Jack, and he was talking about 50,000 watt clear channel. He was talking about radio. And I was never a radio guy, but was in radio, AM and talk and all that. But I never really was a part of that group of people that were crazy about radio, where they grew up listening to KDKA and WLS and never. It was always like, oh, okay. I had some radio stations, but I never really was a fan of radio. Now, I have friends of mine right now in radio who think this is 1985. They haven't evolved. They don't understand information systems. They don't understand podcasting. They don't understand video. They don't see it. I see it perfectly. I see it so clearly. How can you not? It's what is done now. I hear these people and they're saying, well, that's not a broadcaster. Listen to him. Look at him. I said, that doesn't matter. Look at this one. She's broadcasting from her bedroom. What difference does it make? Well, shit, what is this? It doesn't matter. It doesn't, we don't care about that. Why? And they're stuck. They haven't evolved. When long hair, you probably don't remember this. That was one of the biggest things. Post-Beatles, but it was considered. I was watching another great documentary on Muscle Shoals. And Muscle Shoals, my great friend, Jerry Wexler, worked with Greg Allman, Wilson Pickett, and Muscle Shoals. And the white musicians had an easier time going to lunch or dealing with Wilson Pickett, a black man, than in Greg Allman, who had long hair. This was a reality then that people do not understand. And if you don't understand the perspective, I'm not saying dwell on it. I've got friends of mine who still don't understand, and I say this with all due respect. Rush Limbaugh was a titan. Rush Limbaugh's dead. It doesn't apply anymore. It's different. It's already drastically. This is different. You're stuck in a time warp. I mean, you can take certain things that you've heard from there. Shock jocks, they're over with. There's no such thing as that anymore. Move on. You don't see. You're stuck in this. Do you see where things are going? I can't teach you this. I can't. I see people right now, especially those people who remain concretized in certain political groups, who don't understand the evolution of something. Look at where it went. If you want to see something, listen to the evolution of rock guitar. Listen to Dick Dale, surfing music. Listen to the old days of who is it? Oh God, Elvis's guy, and just listen to it. It's very simple. ding, 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 very tinny, very, but kind of simple. Beach Boys-y kind of guitar. And it got a little different. And then, I don't know where, if it was Hendrix, it was before, maybe it was, and I love to hear how things evolve when blues kind of came in. And it took a real hardcore sound to it. Real hardcore. And that was critical. Buddy Guy was playing rock licks before anybody knew what they were. Rock licks that you would recognize as such. And it's interesting. Watch the evolution of this. That to me is the most interesting. That is the most fascinating. Look at where this is going. Look at how everything is going. Look, I can't emphasize. I just did I did two videos on two subjects that I'm telling you nobody is even aware of because they're not following it. And it's like they don't want to change. I'm having too much fun doing this. You've got to evolve. All right, let me stop for a second. The other day, I heard one of the most incredibly important messages regarding, I believe it was Mr. Schwab. It might have been at the last Davos meeting. And it was about the potential in the future for cyber attacks and the like. And it was as clear, and as I have been saying, and others have been noting, forever. And it is about EMP attacks, electromagnetic pulse attacks, and the notion of grids being compromised in a variety of different ways to be able to look and to evolve and to say what is going to happen next. This is one of those things. Listen, look at the news right now. We're talking about train derailments, and you would think, train derailments now? Yes, now? Yes. Because the structure has not really changed. It's a very simple concept. And that's why EMP is real. And that's why you must use this particular link and go to EMP Shield and find for yourself what it is that we're talking about. Look at this. Look at what is happening. It is so monumentally critical. This technology from EMP Shield, this is a Midwest company out of the Midwest called EMP Shield. And they've invented a device that can hook up to your vehicle in your home. And this technology has gone through compliance with, or rather testing with Keystone Compliance, a military certified facility, and is listed by the Department of Homeland Security. And there it is. And it's being explained to you everywhere. And there's no evolution responsible for this. It makes so much sense. So go right now to my link at EMP Shield and learn for yourself and see, I better do something now because the technology is there, period. And also, the other day, I got to tell you something. What were we saying for the longest time? I don't want to do the old I told you so. I'll never do that. I don't really have to tell you this. But for a long time, we've been talking about something called the 3 essentials of life. Water, food, and energy. Now, energy is EMP. If you look at what's happening around parts of the country, water is, oh my gosh. Hydro-imperialism is going to be an issue that I've talked about for over 25 years, before anybody was really paying attention to it. And the notion is food. And yet there seems to be a tremendous amount of focus on egg prices, which is okay, which is fine, egg prices. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that. And that's why I implore you to go to our sponsor, My Patriot Supply, and use this link, preparewithlionel.com. It's right there. And you can save $250 on a 3-month emergency food kit. It's there. Do you see how everything is happening? Do you see what is happening? Do you see what I'm talking about? And what I have been talking about? And how these things are evolving. You see this, right? I mean, we all have to be like an epidemiologist. There was a time in this country when people kind of didn't really know about cigarette smoking. They just didn't understand. They thought, well, it's. And then they said, oh, now we understand it. But there was a time when we said, I don't know about this. And there were doctors who said, well, I'm not sure about this. About cigarette smoking? Not sure. You're not sure? Wow. How have you evolved? How have you evolved? This is titled today, Political Reality Defined. How have you evolved? What do you call? I swear to you, I don't know what to say. I don't fit in. I don't fit in. I just do not. I see things completely differently. The other day I was hearing people talking about New York politics, about Republicans. Al D'Amato. George Pataki, the governor? What? Nelson Rockefeller? What? What are you talking about? Do you see what's happening here? Do you see how there's this evolution and how we're still using phrases that don't matter? Do you see this? This is the best. This is the thing. Oh, and by the way, and I want you to listen to me very, very carefully. Let me see if I can explain this to you. There are people who are professional actors and actresses who love to come out and to become and to act as advocates, proponents, whatever. They're actors and actresses. And their act is their political ideology. And they're the usual suspects. And here they are again. I exclude those people. We have to start from square one. We have to start from square one. We have to completely say, okay, let's start from the beginning. Start from the beginning. I don't know what your idea of fun is. Mine is not to milk a subject to death. I like to talk about things a little bit differently. And when we're talking about school, which every now and then we do, I find that I can't even talk to teachers. I feel sorry for teachers because I think teachers deep down inside really want to do something good for people. But I think we're kind of stuck in that world as well of the past. Having a frame of reference is one thing. Knowing what the past was is one thing. But being able, thinking that you somehow are going to, I don't know what the word is, that you somehow are going to maintain this is another story. I don't know how that works. Whatever you did, whatever you thought of in the past, whatever you learned in the past, whatever it was, it's over with. It's not going to happen now. Stop talking about the past. Stop talking about the past. Stop talking about how you think everything's going to be great now. It's not. That was then. There were some things that were good about this. Some things are just different today. And that's one thing I can't explain. I don't know how to tell people. Quit talking about that. That is not, like I told you before, my friends in radio, they don't understand it. They're actually sitting there. They'll put pictures out there in front of a board, with a microphone, with a mic flag. I'm thinking, oh my God. I'm not saying it's over with, but this is sad. This is just incredibly sad. If you're in the restaurant business, I'll give you an example. One of the things that's happened to New York is you don't see as many delicatessens as Jewish delis, and the Carnegie I thought was the greatest ever. And Katz is open, Stage is sort of open, Ben Ash and some of that closed. There's some so-and-so and was it Barty Green, whatever, and Daughters, and there's a few that are open, but not like in the old days. Lower East Side, because that real heavy pastrami, corned beef, schmaltz, real heavy food, that's not, people aren't eating like that now. Not as much. They still are, but not as much. So restaurants have to kind of change. People wanted lighter food. They wanted this. They wanted a variety of other things. Then certain things will catch on. Paninis all of a sudden came out of nowhere. Paninis were so old. The idea of taking Cubans called that blanjalo, where you take a sandwich and you press it. You can always tell a Cuban, well, he always wants to smash everything. It's the oldest thing in the world. It's this pressed sandwich thing. We've had it. But that was a big deal. All of a sudden, like, paninis. I got paninis. I remember when all of a sudden people were talking about gluten-free. There was a pizza joint down the street that said, gluten-free. Why do you want to have gluten-free? And it was when celiac was here. Do you hear about anybody with celiac? Did you hear about that? No. Celiac was the biggest deal ever. I've got celiac. Nobody has it anymore. I don't hear about it. Nobody talks about it. It's gone. Tinnitus, or tinnitus is incorrectly called. Tinnitus, which, the ear ringing in the ear. It was on every ad, on every radio station. I don't know where they are. Restless leg syndrome. Where'd that go? How about people who say diphtheria? It's diphtheria. How about people say ophthalmologist? It's ophthalmologist. All these mispronounced words. It's incredible. Tijuana. I so love that. Tijuana. I got to tell you this much. Listen to me carefully. I know this doesn't matter. Stop saying awesome. I know people who respond to everything as awesome. I know a woman, my friend of mine, she's I think, her 60s. Everything is awesome. Everything. You could say, today's Tuesday. Awesome. Today's Wednesday, by the way, but it's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Stuck in a world that doesn't exist anymore. Mispronounced, concretized world that doesn't apply anymore. It doesn't apply. Remember those days, but look at what's happening. How many political parties do you think we'll have one day? How can we have just two majors? I don't know. Did you know that the Republican Party, I believe its first convention was in 1856 or something in Philadelphia, and there were two pillars of barbarism it dealt with: slavery and polygamy. It was one of the worst things they ever talked about. Think about that. Does that have anything to do with today? Probably not. Probably not. Where is this going? Where is this? I see, in many respects, a parallel universe regarding politics. I see multiverses. I see one day there being issue politics. Most of us have issues that we consider to be most important. And we will find a party that deals best with that issue, though not perfectly. One day we're going to have just issues. I'm going to vote on this thing. Whoever votes, and you're going to say, I don't care who it is. It doesn't really matter. The idea of an allegiance to some overarching political party with issues I don't really care for and may disagree with, that's over with. That's done. That's finished. People care about certain things. People care about certain things. I love the idea of distraction. The evolution of distraction. Years ago, there was a person who was doing sleight of hand, prestidigitation. And he at the time said, I want to know more about how people look the other way, how people don't see things when I, do all this stuff, and how am I palming, and how do they see this? Well, a bunch of either neurologists or teachers wanted to meet with this teacher or this artist and find out, how do you confuse people, because we might be able to learn and help our classes with dyslexia and reading problems by knowing how you twist and change and convert people's perception of things. And distraction is the most important thing in the part. Distraction, distortion, deflection, redirection, critical. Look over here. Don't look at that. Look it over here. Look at here. Follow this. That's a story of life. That's the story of life. That is so interesting. And then we have new folks, and I'm sure you've seen them, people who believe that everything available is nothing but a distraction of something else. This is what people believe, that everything is, everything. Whether it's Chinese balloons or whether it's whatever it is, that this is all a distraction. Everything is a distraction. Everything. Even the distraction is a distraction. Is it really? I've discussed this on my private channel a great lot. I'm thinking, there's no distraction at all. Nothing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No distraction whatsoever. I don't have to distract anybody who's already distracting themselves. I think to myself, do you remember in the old days when we had 3 networks? 3. That was it. We saw the evening news at night. Remember, it was Cronkite. There was a morning paper. It was a morning paper. Maybe an afternoon, but those kind of... And that's it. There was no Nightline. There was no 11. I don't even think there was 11 o'clock news. I don't know. It was this idea that you had this window. It was the morning. And when you'd be on a subway or you'd be people were reading newspapers and wanting to know, and that was it. And when you were done, you put it down, and there was no breaking news. There was no nothing. It was nothing until the next time you heard something. If it was really important, maybe they would say flash. Would have the actual news wires. And we knew more. I knew more about the world. Our parents knew more about the world than anything now with 24/7 constant barrage of information. Why is that? I have no idea. Why do people write poorer today, more poorly, I guess, even though they're constantly writing something? But is this writing? What is this? Everybody's doing this. Is this writing? People are trying to put together a thought, right? Well, why aren't people writing? Do you see writing skills? Non-existent. How is it that people who have the Library at Alexandria in their pocket know so little about history, never refer? It's the greatest paradoxes I have ever seen. It fascinates me. There is so much, and just incredible. And how are people, again, living in the past? Oh my God. Who was it? Was that Jethro Tull? Living in the past, right? Ian Anderson. All right, 2 things, my friend. I want to tell you very quickly, as I told you before. Our good friend, cannot say this enough, My Pillow is just kind of sells itself, my friend. Not trying to sell anybody anything. It just makes complete and total sense. Right now, if you use promo code Lionel, you will get a free gift. Tautological, perhaps, but nonetheless, a free gift. It's that simple. Look and read and immerse yourself in the website, promo code Lionel, and you will be absolutely gobsmacked. You'll be thunderstruck. It is awesome as to how much is there and available to and for you. That simple. And then finally, I want to say this before we move on, because I want to think about you. I told you about our dear friend who's making a little bit of a progress. There is stuff going on right now that is so nasty. Who has had or heard of RSV? Have you heard this? Not RSVP. RSV, respiratory syncytial virus. Respiratory syncytial virus. SYNCTIAL. A respiratory virus that usually causes mild cold-like symptoms. Yeah, mild cold-like. This is some... Whoa, it's not COVID. It's not flu per se, but it's a monster. It is a monster. And it will just come in and just... And some of the stuff that knocks you out is not lethal. It won't kill you, but you'll think you are decomposing before people's eyes. That's why Z-Stack, why? Immune system. Very simply. Vitamin C. Zinc. Vitamin D, yes. and quercetin, flavonoids, bioavailable phytonutrients. It makes so much incredible sense. Why? And you know why? Because you're not eating right. You're not. You don't eat enough. You don't. Don't even start. Don't even, believe me. That train has left the station. So go to Z-Stack, use my link right there, and bolster and boost your immune system very, very simply. All right, my friends, we're going to do a little bit shorter today. I hope everybody is doing well and great. Hope you're up to speed and in fighting trim. I hope. I trust. I hope you are. I hope you are. It's important. You've got to think about yourself. You've got to think about yourself. Think about this. Andy says gas went up 30 cents last night. Wow. Wow. What happens? Well, I don't want to play what if, but as you can see where things are going, the issue is not necessarily what happens next, but what is it that will get the government's attention. That perhaps is best for another version. Please subscribe to my channel. I've got 2 videos coming up that are just wow. I think very good and very, very brutal. And put it this way, guaranteed to cause me to be disinvited from anything on television today. Because frankly, I don't fit in. My friends, you have a great and glorious day. Don't ever change me. Then sincerely, we'll be back tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And until then, I always end with this. Oh, before I forget, please, Mrs. L's got 2 incredibly critical videos that I want you to watch that are so, so good. And we are going to be, yes, we are going to be, this is hers right now. Just click onto this. In fact, we're going to be doing our Warriors movement today.
You can kind of say.
Well, I'd rather not. We'll do it tomorrow.
Well, not exactly. Just giving.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We're going out into the community and we are speaking. She is speaking to a group of people to bring parents and people and adults into awareness regarding digital safety, what they can do to protect their children, and the state of the art, so to speak, regarding protecting children from predation and the like. So it's something that is just, and also the latest legislatively. In fact, I trust you have subscribed to her newsletter because it is just excellent. And it brings you, again, stories that nobody else is talking about. So anyway, my friends, you have a great day. Thank you so, so much. See you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.